You're listening to the Business and Life Podcast, where 7 days a week, proven entrepreneurs share their success stories, failures, and give you true value on how you can build a great business and an awesome life. With your host, Mike Olivas.
All right, Kylie, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you. I'm excited to have you. So tell our listeners something interesting about yourself.
Something interesting. Well, I always have a jar of peanut butter in my suitcase, kind of random. Like the Energizer Bunny, I need, something to keep me going. But yeah, that throws people off sometimes.
That's awesome.
I've also been to 112 countries, so that's kind of unique.
Whoa, that's even more interesting. I mean, I sit here with a bar of peanut butter, a jar of peanut butter usually on my podcast days, which is today. With standing for 13 hours, it gives me the energy I need usually, and there's not much time in between to have anything. Like there's seriously bits of chicken like on my desk right now, like I'm popping in. But outside of that, I love the peanut butter world. So 100 and how many countries?
112.
Wow, that is impressive.
I think maybe a few more. I'm not sure. I don't keep close count, but
yeah. No, I'd like to. Maybe I'd like to backtrack on how many I've been to. But that's really cool. Definitely, I'm not even close to 112. So tell us now, because this is a great caveat into you being to so many countries, about what your company does, what kind of value it brings to the marketplace. But this also obviously is a understanding why you have the type of travel company that you do. You love to travel, huh?
Yeah. So I founded an expedition company, so a travel company, about a little over 4 years ago. And yeah, we do trips in now over 100 countries. And it's pretty incredible. Yeah. So think 1 to 2 weeks in length, fully like immersive, curated from start to finish. You show up in common places as well as very uncommon places around the world. And we take care of you from there and connect you with incredible locals who just really make your experience awesome. So yeah, that's what I do. I love to travel. I love to expedition, and it's super fun to share with people.
Well, I think we have a lot in common, which is great here, Kylie, because I started a national group travel company about 10 years ago.
Cool.
And we do collegiate group travel across the country. That's kind of now turned into, before it was throwing college events and weekenders and parties. Now I kind of feel like more of a techie nerd because there's so much technology involved. But, I always say I went from the backwards hat and aviators with a backpack to just a nerd with glasses on in front of a laptop. But that's how we evolve, right? And sometimes grow up and grow up into the business. But it's been a blast and an awesome ride because I think we share the same experiences of showing people an awesome time.
Yes.
And that has been a passion of mine. Obviously, it has to be a passion of yours, or else we pull our hair out doing what we do. And it's a lot of fun, though. So tell me a little bit about how you got into the business.
Yeah, no, definitely. So I was actually still a student at university, and I'm in Utah, and I had the chance to go study abroad for the first time. I went and actually did 2 semesters at Oxford and Cambridge, which was awesome because I was, in Europe. I could travel around very easily, but more so than that, I started meeting people, my colleagues at Oxford and Cambridge, from all around the world, which was just cool to, be friends with people from, and like close friends. We hang out every day with people from the Middle East, India, Southeast Asia, all different countries in Africa. And it was just, an incredible experience. So that really was kind of the starting point for me. And then people, when I came home from those trips, I was traveling all around, people started asking about it. And I just found that there was a niche for very more immersive kind of, multi-locational travel, and really just spiraled into I spent a lot of the early days backpacking through Africa, Southeast Asia, India, all over. And I met and really lived like a local. And I think it helped me build pretty solid connections and a good understanding as a foreigner, of how to navigate countries and just build relationships that are needed. So I made a lot of friends. I'm all about friends first, business second. And It's really led to some pretty great things. So.
Tell me about what kind of experiences does Acanela offer to people?
So we have all sorts of trips. Really kind of our bread and butter, our niche is expedition style travel. So think, connecting with local people, whether that's, we do a lot of culinary experiences. Acanela is Latin for cinnamon. So one of the first things that we focused on was actually really heavily food-focused experiences, whether it was private dining experiences built in locals' homes, cooking classes, and then we branched out into more like active adventures, think like gorilla trekking in Uganda, visiting orangutans in Sumatra, and doing that with a team of local guides who are knowledgeable in like the botany and the flora and fauna, all of those things. And so it's really kind of this beautiful mix of local, boutique style travel that really brings you back, I guess, more understanding of the world, and also changes your perspective. So sometimes we tell people you need a vacation from your vacation when you travel with Acanela, because it really is just like getting you out, which is cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And in terms of like, is it nationwide? Is it worldwide? Where are your locations and destinations?
Yeah, so we're all over the places we take people are all over the world. So we're in every continent, including Antarctica, about 100 countries. We just broke that this year. But most of our travelers are coming from United States, Canada. Yeah. We draw from English-speaking Europe, Australia. So some of those main markets. Yeah. Australia. So yeah, they have the travel bug.
They have the travel bug, but their country pushes the travel bug in terms of just, taking holiday. And I always say, because I went to Europe for 40 days ago, I learned more about Australia than I did Europe when I was because it was all with Australians and New Zealanders and stuff. But I think it's awesome that they have that set in stone. I think they have, 2 months or something along those lines of they have off.
Vacation.
Oh yeah, of actual vacation, and they're like, hey, you have to take it, which from a corporate and business standpoint, it makes total sense. But of course, we're a little bit more grind minded, if we will, in the States.
Exactly. Yeah. It's interesting how every country is so different, even within, you could say that Western English speaking countries. It's been really interesting to learn travel preferences, and it's pretty cool.
I bet. Very cool. So give me a time where you felt you've been in this business for how many years now? You say 4?
Yeah. So we've been doing trips for 4 years. Technically it's been 5 or 6 if you count all of the initial traveling that I did. But our first trip was almost a little over 4 years ago. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, with all, let's say we know there's been, more probably challenges, than wins. And that's kind of the name of the game in entrepreneurship. Yeah. Give me a time where you felt you've hit like kind of rock bottom, and you were, or close to it at least, and were able to overcome that disaster, if you will.
Yeah, it's funny actually. People don't realize that when I mentioned, right, doing trips for 4 years, but having kind of that 2-year period before when I was still a student, figuring things out. When I first launched Acanela, it actually was not Acanela Expeditions. Acanela is Latin for cinnamon. We were selling spices. So my first concept for business was actually, hey, let's bring the travel experience to people through these, co-curated spice blends that I would, work on with men and women from around the world, sell them to them in this beautiful display. And that's perfect. That's what people want. And I did that for probably like a solid year, while I was finishing up my studies and traveling. And I thought it was this great idea. And I think I had started other things before, but that was the first time I had really, I would say, high hopes and actually put a lot of time and effort and, dollars into something. And frankly, like, it failed. I mean, it just, the product wasn't shippable. My family liked it, a few friends, but it wasn't scalable. And I had obviously a lot of criticism, a lot of things that I still get now, but it was a really important lesson for me to learn that it's okay to go through, like, you almost need to go through that experience of doing something that honestly people think you're crazy for doing it. And that's what people thought. Now they look back and see the spice boards and they're like, that's cool. That's the history behind Acanela. But it was, it wasn't until actually I sat down with some good friends and they were like, Kylie, like, this is awesome that you're passionate about this, but your passion and what you're really good at is identifying these experiences. Why aren't you actually taking people there? And it sounds like an easy transition, but it was hard for me because I was giving up something in my mind. I felt like I was giving up something that I had done for, a solid year. And I was really passionate, put a lot of, blood and tears into it. And, but it was great. I mean, I let that go on the side and we did our first trip and it spiraled into doing thousands of trips now. So it was a good failure.
Life Nation, we're all striving towards different goals. Maybe your goal is to finally quit the 8 to 5 grind, quit your job, or take the next step with your existing business. Whatever the goal may be, regardless of your reasons, if you are serious about taking the next step and finally trying to build the life that you deserve, the life that you want to live, take the leap of faith with me. Go to michaelolivas.com and let's discuss your goals and life. It's 100% free. There's no obligation. It's michaelolivas.com. Schedule a quick call. I'd love to help. Right. And the beauty about that is that if it's your true passion, it doesn't mean that it can't continue to be your hobby passion, right? And a lot of people push the passion thing, and I like it, and sometimes I always look against it. Like, was it my passion to show people a great time? Yes, I built a couple of different companies, whether it was a yacht business, the group travel business, to show people a lot of fun from more of an entertainment angle, right? And but when it's all said and done, like, your passion can also turn into your job. And the word job and passion don't necessarily go, come together, right? And so, is it a doctor's passion to save a person's life? Yeah, because he gets that feeling after. But that's, throughout that process, we realize that you still have a why. We still realize it, but there's other things that we could be passionate about. And or if it's something that's a business that didn't necessarily ramp into the business you wanted, you can still be passionate about that thing and still do those things. As long as, of course, you can create the business that allows us to do it, which is a lot of times what we talk about, like creating that kind of freedom. So I appreciate you sharing that, because that's personal. And it's also like, well, I was really excited about one thing, and it's really hard to let go of something that you especially put some time and effort and blood, sweat, and tears into. And I get that. I'm selling a kid business right now that's like, but I get it. It's something that is necessarily. So why do you think that, entrepreneurs out there, in your opinion, why do you think there's many entrepreneurs out there that do just end up failing and giving up?
I've thought about this a lot, actually, because I graduated with a lot of people that tried to start things, and some of them are still doing it, but most of them aren't. And I think it's just because it does, right? Seeing early wins is helpful, but also I think being willing to fail hard and fail fast and pivot is something that people aren't willing to do, because, you have in your idea this thing that you put so much time into, and it seems great to you. So why it should be good for everyone else, right? And I think that kills a lot of companies. I also think, especially for young founders, I think criticism gets to a lot of people, and it's really easy to be aware of what everyone thinks and what everyone, what social media or what this, virtual world is doing and telling. I mean, everyone is at your fingertips. You can see what every single person is doing, and I think that can be inspiring, but it can also be really negative. And so it's interesting to actually kind of reflect on why at least peers that I know are still with companies or still with their own company, or why it just ended and failed. And I think a lot of it was because they, I think maybe it wasn't the best idea and it didn't have the right traction in the market at the time. But I think also it's just because it takes a lot of grit to push through things, especially when you're getting a lot of criticism or a lot of people thinking, why are you doing this? So it's a mix of things, but that's been my insight and something that I still face every day, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
As a young female founder. Yeah.
I think a lot of people that are listening, if you listen often to me, this is a daily show, and I ask similar questions, sometimes in different ways, but like to get the answer out. And that grit that you just mentioned is very consistent, believe it or not, Kylie, across the board, whether someone's been in business for 50 years or 1 year or 4 years, that seems, faster success than others. But regardless, the amount of times they fall on their face is no different than others, right? And it's such a norm, and it's hard to tell people that are aspiring entrepreneurs to be like, hey, let's go out there and fall on your face. Like, that doesn't sound exciting, right? Or sexy as a business owner, right? At all. But it's the truth. And I think it's important for the listeners to be transparent about it. But if you got grit and you're tough, you're going to be all right. You just got to be tough mindset, and in many other ways, to get through a lot of the trials and tribulations that are going to come to success in entrepreneurship.
Definitely. Yep. And it's going to keep happening. It's not like you get through the rocky days and it stops happening. I think that's something I wish for. Oh, I'm past the start. I'm past the 3 years. We're going to make it. Right. Yeah. But there's other challenges. You're growing a team. You're introducing new trips or new product lines. And the best skill you can learn as an entrepreneur is to be able to overcome and stick with things even when they're the hardest, because happen.
Absolutely. I tell my clients that too. And a lot of times, is it going to get easier? And I say, or am I always going to have the stress level and things? I said, well, I tell you, it's going to get easier because you learn how to start taking the bullets a lot more. And you start, instead of dodging them, you start learning how to realize that I got this. And once you have that I got this mentality and realize that it's only going to be tough if you assume it's going to be tough, but there's definitely a way through it, and not necessarily around it, but through it. And you start taking those things kind of head on. And so my advice is always to either clients or friends or people that I help coach through it is just, yes, it's not stopping. In fact, it's going to get worse. There's going to be lawsuits. In fact, there might be 3 or 4 a year. And that sucks, right? I hate dealing with lawsuits. I still deal with them. But at the end of the day, I say that very not lightly, I deal with them. And but I only deal with them when I have that call scheduled on my calendar. I don't try to think about it until that time comes. All the way up until the point where that, like, I legitimately will tell. I just told my attorney one of my attorneys here now that's in one of the Florida cases is I reminded them, like, hey, I'm going to be totally transparent with you. Remind me what's happening. Like, because I have to get it out of my head, because it's not what you want to think about, but it's part of the game. It's part of the process. Yeah. And I go back into it and let them do what they do. And then, what I do best, hopefully, which is be a little bit happier on a daily basis. So how are you currently, this is about business, this is about life. And when you think about both, I always try to remind people, especially you get this because you have a travel company, that life wins the game, that we're not living a business, we're living a life. But how have you been able to, I know it's been a shorter term for 4 years, possibly 6, obviously, when you first started kind of thinking about the concept, but building the life that you want to live. What is that to you? Have you been able to really do that now within your team?
Yeah, I'd say that this is evolving, right? Sometimes it feels really well balanced, then other times completely not. And I think that's also just the ups and downs of being an entrepreneur, but it's also part of the excitement of it. I feel very blessed because I am, pros and cons about it, but I am in an industry that I really love. What would I be doing if I wasn't building a business? I would probably be traveling and connecting with people that are different than me. And so it's pretty cool that I get to do both of those together, but it has been tricky, the dynamic, now focusing internally on growing a team, it's definitely, distracted or taken away from, as many travel opportunities as I've had in the past, and, or, maybe doing things on the side like music, or, I played basketball in university, so athletics is very important to me. So I definitely see dips in hobbies that I really enjoy, but it's because I'm choosing to spend my time building something that's really exciting for me. So for me, it's all about setting clear boundaries. If I want to, excel or pursue something else, or take, free time to do that, I just have to put it in my calendar literally, and just say I'm not working during, these 9 hours on a Saturday because I'm going to go hike a mountain, or, and that's really important to me. And I think it's okay. Like, balance, I'm not about, like, just being mad at myself or frustrated because I don't have perfect balance. I think it's something that we always strive for and we learn. And it's been a really good opportunity for me to learn that. I'm still figuring it out. But
I think there's a big argument in my personal approach to balance is that if you're balanced, you're kind of standing still, and nobody wants to do that, right? But if you have balance, like Michael Jackson in that video Thriller, where he's leaning forward, cool. As long as you're leaning forward a little bit, that's the best kind of balance to have. As long as you're moving forward, leaning forward, it sounds like you have a really cool, young, fun, excited company. And so your current time zone is fun, excitement, build time, scale time. Yeah. And that is fun. That is your fun right now. And that's okay. We've all been there. I think a lot of entrepreneurs are there right now. So if they're thinking all I'm doing is working, a lot of it is because you're enjoying it. You should enjoy the journey. You're going to get the result. And be as patient as you possibly can, but love the game of business, and the money's going to come. And it's just, it's the game, it's the process. And hopefully people start falling in love with that more and more, and realizing that their balance evolves and changes as their company kind of scales, and, or they start pivoting in different parts of their life. But out of all your experiences, Kylie, give us one piece of parting advice for the business and life nation out there listening today.
That is a great question. I would just say, honestly, this is really cheesy, but don't be afraid to fail. Actually embrace it, and almost, remove failure from your vocabulary, because it's not really a failure. It's only, an opportunity to learn. And for me, that's been really huge. And I think has taken away a lot of walls of me trying things that feel risky, or that, I'm maybe other people wouldn't do. And it's every single big pivot and big move that we've done has been because I've acted on those notions that there was a big fear initially that I was going to fail. And I felt that fear, and I felt those butterflies, and I like absorbed it, and then just said, well, you know, if I don't do this, then, you know, I'm going to possibly lose out on some really great things. And what's the worst that can happen? A few people criticize me, or a few people say I'm crazy. Well, that's already happened, right? So I think that I really look up to Sarah Blakely, who founded Spanx, if you all know her. And I really appreciate how openly she talks about failure. And it's really helped me reframe it in my mind. So that's my one piece of advice, especially for young, you know, entrepreneurs or, you know, female entrepreneurs, or people in a space where they feel like maybe they're the minority, or they feel like people look at them differently. Take it as an asset and leverage those failures. It's been awesome.
Absolutely. That's great advice. And it's not cheesy at all. It's the absolute truth. Kylie, where can people find you?
Yeah. So you can find us on our website, which is acanela.com, www.acanela.com. And yeah, you can contact us. We chat, call, phone, email. There's so many great things. And I'm always open to having conversations with people. It's always great to learn from peers. So
absolutely. Well, I'm looking forward to chatting with you again here in the near future on a podcast when you've now been to maybe 200 countries. But thank you so much for your time, Kylie.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Life Nation, you got to remember that in order for things to change, you must change. And in order for things to get better, you must get better. You just got better by hanging out with me, Michael Libas, and the Business and Life Nation. So come back tomorrow, because I'm here dropping sound bombs 7 days a week, baby. If you'd like to subscribe, please do, so you can take action and execute. See you tomorrow.